So today I wanted to demonstrate a really nice method of making complex shapes fit other complex shapes. And it's something called pattern scribing. And all you need is a piece of paper, a straight edge, and a pair of dividers. So let's get to it. So what we have is I'm going to imagine that it's inside of a box that's got a really strange shape, rounded. Who knows? I made a mistake or something. So it's not square, it's not easy to measure, and then it's got this funny round edge to it. And I don't like the top. So I'm going to make a piece of paper that fits in here perfectly and looks nice and covers up the ugly plywood. And what we're going to need for this is a pair of dividers with a pin in it. You can also use a pencil, but pencils, as you use them, the tip gets dull and the line gets wider, and it makes it harder to use. And then the next thing we may need is a straight edge. It doesn't have to be an angle, but it needs to have a substantial thickness to it so that your dividers can run on it easily. And some blue tape and some paper. And then, of course, you'll also need what you want to fit in the area. So you can imagine trying to cut this to fit all the area nice and tight without any gaps, nice and neat. And maybe you want to be able to position it squarely with this in the middle or something. Just doing that by hand is going to be impossible, and taking a whole bunch of measurements and stuff and drawing things out is just going to be a mess. So this is how we do it. Okay, so we have 50-pound paper here. You could also use virtually any kind of paper, but 50 or 40-pound paper is nice and thick, and it doesn't want to wrinkle easily. And when you tape it down, it doesn't want to roll up too much on you. So I've cut it, probably within a 1/4 inch of all the edges. And it doesn't have to be precise. I just free-handed it. And then I cut these little darts out, and these are for taping it down, because you don't want this to move at all while you're doing it. Because if it moves, it's not going to fit. And blue tape's nice because it doesn't adhere too strongly. So if you've got fragile paper that you're trying to scribe, it doesn't tear too easily. And so it's nice and solid. It's not going to go anywhere. And this corner, I cut it just a little bit too far away, so I just stuck this in. And as long as it doesn't move, you can do that anywhere. If you make a mistake, it's like I said, you don't have to cut the paper exactly. That's the neat thing about this. Then you take your dividers and you take your straight edge. Now these I've set just randomly. They don't have to be a specific distance. They just need to be able to reach the paper from the edges everywhere. Now if these move, if the adjustment moves when you're doing this, you're sort of SOL. So you want to make sure they're nice and tight so they're not going to move. And then you record your setting like this. You draw the line next to your straight edge, and then my pen is a little dry. And then you draw just like you're going to scribe that edge. And then no matter what, if this moves, you can go back and set it to that measurement. So the next thing, I usually do this starting from the left top and work clockwise around and do anything in the center next. So this is very simply draw around the edges and make sure that your scribe is a nice 90-degree angle from the edge for whatever you're scribing. And go around everything just like this, and around the round, and around and around and around. And that's it. So if there was something in the center that I needed to scribe, say if I wanted to make a hole here to fit this, I would do that next. But since I don't have a hole in the lid of my box, we're basically done at this point. And the next thing is to take this piece of paper and put it on the paper that I want to install in this area and reverse all of my drawings. Okay, so we've got this wonderful, beautiful, it's green piece of paper that we're going to put in our imaginary box top. And we take our scribe paper with all of our markings and everything on it. And let's say if we want it right here. Make sure it's not going to move around. Then we take our dividers with the pen, and then we just repeat the process that we did, except that we remember that the straight edge that we're using, which is just a piece of wood that's nice, got a nice clean edge on it, it needs to be reversing everything that we've done. So it has to go on the inside of the line. And we just repeat what we've done. And we always make sure that we're nice and clean right on the line whenever we make a scribe, because if we make an error in or out of that line, it's going to show up. And then of course, when you get to the curved part, it's a little trickier. And so you have to do it freehand, and if you've got shaky hands like me, it's harder. But if you've got surgeon's hands and they're rock steady, it's a piece of cake. And there's nothing wrong with using two hands. So if you're worried about this, if this has to be absolutely extra perfect tight and you can't do it freehand very well, make the error that way. That way you can always trim this carefully by hand to fit that one area. And then we just take our paper up. And we always check to make sure that we can find the line all the way around everything. and then all we have to do is cut it out. Now we take our paper and check to make sure it fits before we glue it in. Just like that. It's got a little bit tight in this corner because I had shaky hands. So we can always trim that a little bit by hand. But other than that, everything fits nice and tight. So the process I described to you today, pattern scribing, is something that's common knowledge in the flooring industry. For 26 years, I installed linoleum and cork flooring, and I got really good at it. The neat thing about pattern scribing is you only have to do it 3 or 4 times, and you've mastered it. So a word on the dividers that I was using today. They're made by Crane, and they're a standard flooring tool. You can put the pin in it, and it's just a cross pin refill, or it comes with a scribe point, and that allows you to leave a really nice sharp line in things like linoleum or hardwood, and that way you can really get it precise and tight to something. That's it for today, and I hope this helps, and happy scribing. Geez, I know it was here somewhere.